The autumn wind rustled through the trees surrounding Midtown High School, carrying with it the excitement of opening night. Inside the school's aging auditorium, parents clutched their phones and cameras, waiting for the curtain to rise on the drama club's ambitious adaptation of Spider-Man. Nobody noticed the man in the worn leather jacket, who slipped in through the side entrance, his baseball cap pulled low over his familiar face. Tobey Maguire hadn't planned on coming. He'd seen the hand-drawn poster downtown. Midtown High Presence, Spider-Man, and something tugged at his heart. 20 years had passed since he'd first donned the red and blue suit, transforming from a relatively unknown actor into a global icon. Now, at 48, he found himself drawn to this humble school production like a moth to a flame. The security guard, Bernard Matthews, had worked at Midtown High for 3 decades. He took his job seriously, especially on performance nights when the school was open to the public. As Toby approached the entrance to the auditorium, Bernard's withered hand shot out, blocking the way. "Sorry, sir. School policy. Only parents and family members are allowed in without advance tickets." Toby smiled, that same gentle, slightly awkward smile that had endeared Peter Parker to millions. "I understand, but I actually have a special connection to this show." He paused, realizing how strange his next words would sound. "I was Spider-Man. In the movies, I mean. 20 years ago." Bernard's expression hardened. In his experience, people trying to talk their way in usually had questionable motives. "Sir, I've heard all kinds of stories, but rules are rules. Do you have a child performing tonight?" "No, but..." "Then I'm sorry, but I can't let you in without proper authorization." Inside the auditorium, the drama students were doing their final preparations. Jenny Chin, a sophomore playing Mary Jane Watson, was peeking through the curtain at the gathering audience when she spotted the exchange. Her eyes widened as recognition hit her. She'd grown up watching those movies with her parents, had worn out their DVD copy of Spider-Man 2. "Oh my God!" she whispered, then louder. "Oh my God!" Before anyone could stop her, Jenny burst through the curtain, still in her full Mary Jane costume, red wig slightly askew. "That's him! That's actually him! That's Tobey Maguire!" The auditorium fell silent. Heads turned. Phones emerged from pockets. Bernard the security guard blinked rapidly, looking between the excited drama student and the man he'd been about to turn away. Toby removed his cap, that familiar bashful smile still playing on his lips. I saw the poster downtown. Thought maybe I could watch these kids take on the role that changed my life. Maybe even say hello after, if that's okay." Jenny was practically bouncing with excitement. "Mr. Matthews, he played Spider-Man in the original trilogy. The movies we based our whole show on. He has to stay." Bernard, now thoroughly flustered, looked helplessly toward the drama teacher, Ms. Rodriguez, who had emerged from backstage to investigate the commotion. She took in the scene, a slow smile spreading across her face as she recognized the unexpected visitor. "Well," she said, "I think we can make an exception to the rules. After all..." She gestured to the poster hanging beside the stage, featuring a young Peter Parker looking up at his costume for the first time. "You were the one who showed us all what it truly means to be Spider-Man." As Toby was ushered to a seat in the back row, he couldn't help but notice the whispers and stares. But it wasn't the attention that moved him. It was the sight of young Diego Martinez backstage, adjusting his homemade Spider-Man mask, hands shaking with the same nervous energy Toby had felt all those years ago. What happened next would become a legend in Midtown High's history, but that was just the beginning of an evening that would remind everyone present about the true power of inspiration, legacy, and the enduring spirit of a hero who taught us that with great power comes great responsibility. Little did anyone know that this unexpected visit would set in motion a chain of events that would not only change the lives of these young drama students, but would also give Tobey Maguire a chance to revisit his most iconic role in a way he never could have imagined. The lights dimmed in the auditorium, but the usual pre-show whispers had transformed into an electric buzz. Word had spread through the audience like wildfire. The original Spider-Man himself was watching. In the back row, Tobey Maguire settled into his seat, feeling a strange mixture of nostalgia and anticipation washing over him. Diego Martinez stood in the wings, his heart thundering against his ribs. The 16-year-old had been confident about playing Peter Parker just an hour ago. Now, knowing who was in the audience, his knees felt like jelly. Through a gap in the curtain, he could see his mother in the third row, offering an encouraging smile. But his eyes kept drifting to the shadowy figure in the back. The show began, and despite the initial nerves, the young cast found their rhythm. Diego's Peter Parker was different from Tobey's. There was a raw, modern edge to his interpretation, but the heart was the same. In the back row, Tobey found himself mouthing along to lines he hadn't spoken in 2 decades, impressed by how this young actor had made them his own. Then, disaster struck. During the crucial scene where Peter first discovers his powers, the ancient rigging system that was supposed to help Diego climb the wall malfunctioned. The safety harness jerked awkwardly, leaving him dangling at an odd angle. A few nervous titters rippled through the audience. Ms. Rodriguez felt her heart sink. This was the moment that could break the show, and Diego's confidence. But before she could call for a technical pause, something extraordinary happened. Tobey Maguire stood up. "Keep going, Diego," he called out, his voice carrying through the auditorium. "Remember, you're not just hanging there. You're discovering something amazing about yourself." Diego's eyes widened behind his mask. The original Spider-Man was coaching him, right there, in the middle of the show. Something clicked inside him. He grabbed the loose cable with one hand, using the awkward angle to his advantage, and turned the accident into something intentional, making it look like Peter was still learning to control his newfound abilities. The audience erupted in applause, and Ms. Rodriguez watched in awe as her student transformed a potential catastrophe into one of the most authentic moments of the show. During intermission, Tobey made his way backstage. The young cast gathered around him, eyes shining with admiration and curiosity. But it was Diego he approached first, placing a hand on the boy's shoulder. "You know what made Spider-Man special to me?" Tobey asked, not just to Diego, but to all the young actors. "It wasn't the powers or the stunts. It was the moments where Peter Parker had to find strength in his failures. Just like you did out there." Jenny Chen, still in her Mary Jane costume, couldn't contain herself. "But weren't you scared? When you first played him? Everyone had such high expectations." Tobey laughed softly. "Terrified. But that's the thing about wearing a mask. Sometimes it gives you the courage to show who you really are." As the cast prepared for the second act, something had changed. The presence of the original Spider-Man had evolved from an intimidating shadow to an inspiring light. Diego stood taller, more confident. Jenny's Mary Jane took on new depths. Even the stage crew moved with renewed purpose. But what happened in the second act would take everyone by surprise, especially when an unexpected technical challenge forced Tobey to step in a way no one could have anticipated. The real drama was about to begin, and the line between actor and character, past and present, was about to blur in the most remarkable way.
Tell us in the comments what part of this story impressed you the most. If you liked it, please like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next videos. See you in the world of incredible events.
The second act began with renewed energy, but backstage, Mr. Phillips, the technical director, was fighting a losing battle. The ancient lighting board, a relic from the 1990s, was beginning to fail. Light cues flickered erratically, threatening to plunge crucial scenes into darkness. Worse still, the replacement board was locked in the storage room, and the only person with the key, the janitor, had left for the day. Ms. Rodriguez pulled Toby aside during a scene transition, her voice tight with worry. "I hate to ask this, but you know this story better than anyone. If the lights go completely, we'll have to stop the show. These kids have worked for months." Toby looked at the nervous faces of the stage crew, then at Diego, who was preparing for the show's pivotal moment, the scene where Peter Parker must choose between saving Mary Jane or a cable car full of citizens. It was the heart of what Spider-Man represented, the moment that had defined the character for a generation. "What do you need me to do?" he asked. That's how Tobey Maguire, the original Spider-Man, found himself crawling through the school's dusty maintenance tunnels alongside Ginny's younger brother Kevin, a freshman tech enthusiast who knew every inch of the building's infrastructure. Their mission: reach the storage room from below and retrieve the backup lighting board before the crucial scene. "My dad's the night maintenance supervisor," Kevin explained as they navigated the narrow passages. "He showed me all the access points. But we never use these tunnels anymore. They're kind of unstable." Above them, the show continued. Diego was nailing his performance, his earlier confidence now shining through. But the lights were getting worse, creating unintended shadows and dark spots on stage. The audience was beginning to notice. As Toby and Kevin approached the storage room access point, they heard an ominous creak. The tunnel's aging support beam was starting to give way. Kevin froze, but Toby's instincts, honed by years of playing a hero, kicked in. He pushed the boy forward just as part of the ceiling began to collapse. "Go!" Toby shouted. "Get the board. I'll hold this up." Kevin scrambled through the access panel while Toby braced himself against the failing beam, muscles straining. For a surreal moment, he felt like he was back on set, except this time the danger was real, and there were no special effects to help him. Meanwhile, on stage, Diego had reached the pivotal moment of his performance. The lights flickered dangerously as he delivered the crucial line. "Sometimes we have to give up what we want the most, even our dreams." The stage went dark. A collective gasp rose from the audience. For 3 heartbeats, the theater was pitch black. Then, miraculously, the lights came back on, different but stable. Kevin had made it to the backup board just in time. When Toby finally emerged from the tunnel, dusty but triumphant, he found Ms. Rodriguez waiting with tears in her eyes. "You really are Spider-Man," she whispered. But the evening's challenges weren't over. What happened next would prove that sometimes the greatest acts of heroism have nothing to do with physical strength, and that the true power of Spider-Man lies not in spectacular rescues, but in the quiet moments where ordinary people find the courage to rise above their circumstances. As the show entered its final act, no one, not even Toby, could have predicted how this night would end. As the final act approached, something remarkable was happening in the Midtown High Auditorium. The story on stage had begun to mirror the real events happening behind the scenes in an almost magical way. Diego, still running on the adrenaline of the earlier crisis, was performing with a newfound authenticity that left the audience spellbound. But it was during the climactic battle scene that everything changed again. Marco Stevens, who played the Green Goblin, had been battling a severe case of stage fright all evening. The presence of Tobey Maguire had only intensified his anxiety, and now, just before his final confrontation with Spider-Man, he was hyperventilating backstage. "I can't do it," Marco whispered, his hand shaking as he clutched his mask. "Everyone's watching. Tobey Maguire is watching. I'm going to ruin everything." Ms. Rodriguez looked helplessly at the clock. They had less than 2 minutes before Marco needed to be on stage. The entire show hung in the balance. That's when Toby stepped forward again, but this time, his approach was different. "Hey," he said softly, kneeling beside the trembling student. "Want to know a secret?" When I was filming my first Spider-Man movie, I had a panic attack right before the upside-down kiss scene. Couldn't breathe. Thought I was going to pass out."
Marco looked up, surprised.
"Really? But that's like the most famous scene ever."
Tobey nodded.
"Exactly. And you know what got me through it? I stopped trying to be perfect. Instead, I thought about why that scene mattered, not to me, but to Peter Parker. What that moment meant to him."
He gestured to Diego, who was waiting in the wings.
"You're not here to impress me or anyone else. You're here because this story means something to you. The Goblin isn't just a villain. He's a man fighting against his own darkness. That's what makes him tragic. That's what makes him real."
Marco's breathing began to steady. Jenny Chen, watching from nearby, wiped tears from her eyes, careful not to smudge her Mary Jane makeup. When Marco finally took the stage, something extraordinary happened. His performance wasn't just good, it was transformative. The fear and vulnerability he'd felt backstage somehow made his goblin more human, more compelling. The final battle wasn't just a fight scene. It became a powerful dialogue about choice, redemption, and the price of power. In the audience, parents who had come expecting a simple school play found themselves genuinely moved. Bernard, the security guard, who had almost turned Tobey away, stood at the back of the auditorium with tears streaming down his face. But it was what happened after Marco's scene that would become the most talked about moment of the night. During the curtain call, Diego did something completely unscripted, something that would remind everyone present, including Tobey Maguire himself, about the true meaning of wearing the mask. As the cast took their bows to thunderous applause, no one in the audience could have guessed that the most powerful moment of the evening was still to come. In the final moments of this extraordinary night, a torch would be passed, a circle would be completed, and the real meaning of heroism would be revealed in the most unexpected way. The curtain call began traditionally enough. One by one, the supporting cast members took their bows to enthusiastic applause. Marco, still buzzing from his transformation as the Green Goblin, received a standing ovation from one section of proud parents. Jenny Chen's Mary Jane Watson earned whoops and cheers from her drama club friends. Then came Diego's turn. He walked to center stage still wearing his Spider-Man mask, just as they had rehearsed. But instead of taking his bow, he raised his hand for silence. The audience, caught off guard, grew quiet. Even Ms. Rodriguez, watching from the wings, had no idea what was about to happen.
"Before I take my final bow,"
Diego's voice rang out clear and strong,
"I want to share something with you all. 20 years ago, a movie taught me what it means to be a hero. Not because of the special effects or the action scenes, but because it showed us that heroes are just ordinary people who choose to do extraordinary things."
He turned toward the back of the auditorium.
"Mr. Maguire, when you played Spider-Man, you didn't just put on a costume, you showed us Peter Parker's heart. Tonight, you did the same thing backstage. You crawled through tunnels to save our show. You helped Marco find his courage. You showed us that being a hero isn't about being perfect, it's about getting up when you fall."
Diego reached up and slowly removed his mask. His eyes were glistening.
"This mask belongs to all of us. Every person who's ever felt like they weren't enough, but chose to try anyway. Every kid who's ever dreamed of flying. Every ordinary person who decided to do what's right, even when it was hard."
He walked to the edge of the stage.
"Mr. Maguire, would you join us up here?"
The audience erupted in applause and encouragement. Tobey, caught completely off guard, felt hundreds of eyes turned toward him. For a moment, he hesitated. This was the students' night, their moment. But then he saw something in Diego's expression that moved him. The same earnest hope he had once tried to capture in Peter Parker's eyes. As Tobey made his way to the stage, the audience's applause grew louder. Diego held out the mask to him, but Tobey gently pushed it back.
"Keep it.
he said, his voice thick with emotion.
You've earned it. But maybe we could take a bow together?
What happened next became the stuff of Midtown High legend. Diego put the mask back on, and the two Spider-Men, one who had inspired a generation and one who represented its future, took a bow together. The audience rose as one, their applause thunderous. Ms. Rodriguez couldn't help but notice how Bernard, the security guard, was now recording everything on his phone, all his earlier skepticism replaced with wonder. Jenny Chen's little brother Kevin, still dusty from the tunnel adventure, stood beaming in the wings. Marco, watching from stage left, stood tall and proud, his earlier fears forgotten. After the applause finally died down, after the photos were taken and the hugs were shared, Toby found himself alone with Diego backstage. The young actor had changed out of his costume, but still held the mask.
You know what the best part of playing Spider-Man was?
Toby asked. Diego shook his head.
Moments like this. Seeing how the story lives on. How it keeps giving people hope.
He smiled.
Keep the mask, Diego. But remember, the real hero is the person beneath it.
As Toby left the school that night, he passed the poster that had first caught his attention. It was just a simple school play advertisement, but it had led to something extraordinary. Sometimes, he reflected, the most amazing stories aren't about spectacle or special effects. They're about those rare moments when reality becomes more magical than fiction, when the line between actor and character blurs, and when an ordinary school production becomes a reminder of why stories like Spider-Man continue to touch our hearts. The next morning, a photo went viral. Two Spider-Men taking a bow together, one a Hollywood star and one a high school student, bridging a 20-year gap with a simple gesture that reminded everyone what it truly means to be a hero. And at Midtown High, a framed mask now hangs in the drama department, not as a prop, but as a symbol of the night when art and life wove together like strands in a web, creating something stronger than either could be alone.
Tell us in the comments what part of this story impressed you the most. If you liked it, please like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next videos. See you in the world of incredible events.